September 1887. Melanie Michaels thought I should say something about my grandkids, so I guess I will. And they come in order like Bob and Wayne and Mike and Bob and Wayne played a lot of ball when they were kids, and I watched most of it. And all them 5,000 miles at least. Anyhow, they done a pretty good job with their ball playing, and they're kind of still at it. They ain't getting much better, but they're still at it. And I'm still watching. Try to tell them something and they don't pay any attention, or it don't do any good, and all that kind of stuff. And Mike, he didn't care much for the ball playing, but he had a lot to go otherwise. Still got it. He takes care of his spot at least. Ain't anybody infringing on his territory too hard. He's got a lot of heart and ambitions. And then there's Julie. She's got a lot of talent. She's worked hard, good help. You kind of want to get out of her way when she's doing something, because she gets right with it, usually. And she lets her emotions get away with her once in a while, kind of cause a little trouble for her, but she gets over it and she's doing better all the time and going to be all right. And she's a good girl. And Melanie, she has trouble with the organization, the bosses. She don't like the way they operate, and says so. And she goes after it pretty good, but her heart's big as outdoors. So she's kind of a good old girl. And the twins, they used to go fishing with me. And after they got to fishing a while, they decide they want to run the boat more than anything else, drive it. So I give them turns at it. And to start with, the river wasn't hardly wide enough for some of it. They couldn't go very straight up the river. But I kept them off of the banks and kind of got them going. And they couldn't just jog up there. We had to go pretty wide open. kind of like to drive the old pickup. Kind of skid it around corners and throw up a wave when you make a turn and that sort of stuff. And they're getting along pretty good, I guess. Working pretty hard. And I guess the company's taking good care of them, getting them involved and learning how to do it and all that stuff, keeping them pretty busy. And Kirk, he's a little different. He's kind of quiet and pretty smart kid. And I don't really know what his most ambitions are. He's does good in school. I guess reads quite a little. He's a good boy. Then you come down to Matt. He should become a debater or a lawyer or something. If you've never heard him argue a case, you don't know what arguing a case is. He can think up more angles to make it necessary that he do something, and all that kind of stuff you ever heard of. He's a debater plus when it comes to that. Nice little kid otherwise. Real nice little kid. But he can argue a case real good. It's real amusing how many things he can bring into a case in his favor. Almost makes it necessary to do it, you know. You can bring in enough important items. A lot of fun listening to him. He's a good kid. And then Laurie, she's dragging along there kind of at the bottom, but she's doing real good with her livestock in the 4-H, showing her stuff, getting along pretty good. Getting on all right in school, I guess. She's doing all right. Maybe amount to something someday. I give her a pretty bad time. She stops off here quite often. I give her a pretty bad time. Anyhow, I guess that's all of them. I wouldn't want to trade any of them off, anyhow. Don't think. Trying to hang on to all I got because I don't look like I'm going to get any more great-grandchildren or anything. Kind of drawn off to a halt here, looks like, but I guess we got enough kids anyhow. Okay for that? Well, then we got two that kind of married into the outfit, and each one of them are making their own ruffles, and seem like they kind of doing their share so far. I hope they can stand the outfit and get along with everybody like they're doing. Ain't very big, but they making waves anyhow. Main thing to me is they all be nice to their grandma. She's a good old girl, which I think they all know by now. I'm pretty sure they all like her cooking. If they don't, there's something the matter with them. Not her cooking. It's good. And I don't know what else I dare to say about anybody. I get my head bumped if I talk too hard. Get out of line too far. Pretty good outfit. And I'm going to run off here and crowd around through a whole lot of different subjects. And the first one that come to mind was when we lived out on the farm quite a long time ago. One nice, beautiful moonlight night, Grandma wanted to go for a walk. So we walked over across the pond. I don't know how many kids we had, 2 or 3. Anyhow, we was walking out across the alfalfa field there down inside of the field down toward the Peterson's Road. Sides down there in the corner. And sides had a couple of dogs, one older one and a younger one. They heard us out there and come up the road and turned into Peterson's driveway and was barking and carrying on. And so I think the kids had a blanket with them. I think I threw that over my shoulders and bent over and made some funny noises and kind of started out toward them, and the old one, he kind of quit barking and started back for home, and the young one, he barked a little, and I made some more funny noises, and he got kind of scared, and barking sounded a little funny, and he started for home, and I slapped my legs and made more funny noises, and when he turned in his driveway, he was going, yike, yike, yike. I never forget how he really got wet when he got going home. He thought someone was really going to pick him up. That was real funny. Anyhow, then when Everett and I was living over at Kern's place, I was staying with him, and we were milking a few cows, and doing some farming for the company. And so it was kind of dry, getting kind of dry in that time, and we had to let some of Hereford cattle greens come up in there to water part of the time, and we put a fence across the corral there. We milked the cows outside, out in the corral. We had a couple of black bulls, older one and a younger one, and they done quite a little fighting among themselves, sparring around all the time. But those Hereford bulls had horns. They'd come up there and get their drink, and then, boy, they just act like they're going to tear the fence down there any time. They're carrying on. And so we turned one of them bulls out there and get a fight kind of started, and then slipped the other one out there. And they really done a good job working together. About the time the Hereford bull thought he was getting hung pretty good, while the other one would move in there and they'd both take him. And man, they'd really put it on him and kind of clear him out of there and stop all that carrying on. We had a lot of fun watching them rascals do that. They didn't do it all the time, but every once in a while we'd slip them out there for a fight or two. But they sure worked good together. They'd clean one of them Hereford bulls out of it pretty quick when they both got in there. They had a lot of fun doing that. And I was going to tell you the other day about, I don't think I told you, about caking the cattle in the fall. Sometimes they give some of the cows a little cake, maybe all winter, scattered out with their feed, but sometimes in the fall the price wouldn't be very good, and the guys that own the cattle might want to feed them a little cake and kind of hold them, keep their weight, hold the weight on them pretty good, and wait for 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe the price will be better. And so they'd give them a few pounds of cake apiece today. And you just scattered right out in the short grass. And they'd get there, and some of them ate twice as much as the others, I suppose, but they're supposed to clean that up and get a shot of it anyhow. And you probably feed a couple of sacks or so, 2 pounds to 100 head, be a couple of sacks, and you throw that on your old horse. If you had to scat out 2 or 3 sacks, while you put it across the front of your saddle and got on there and got your strings untied, and then you could just drizzle it out as you rode along. And the old cattle get in there and they just even eat up all the grass there getting to that. Some of it was kind of in the crumbled up form, but they're pellets about inch wide, or maybe an inch square, and inch or 2 or 3 long, or whatever length they might be. And they were hard, those cottonseed cake. They were pressed into hard chunks and then broken up. But anyhow, that used to be a interesting job right into the pasture and start a hollering. And then after you got them going and start hollering, boy, some of them would start bawling and they're coming. And they'd even jog in there a lot of times, getting there. It's kind of interesting how they'd come in there. It's kind of fun to watch them. There's always a few that didn't come in very good, but you tried to get them in there and tried to get a little of it. Anyhow, that was another job you done. Mostly go out there in the morning in the pasture. Most always had a cake house somewhere where you could get to it. Out in the pasture, haul a load of cake out there and put it in there so it'd keep dry. And then you could feed out of that. Good old times. And there was a guy over north of the college pasture. It's over there on the highway west of the dam, up there where that trailer court is, before you go up the hill. Used to be a house right there where the road is. Old John Rice lived there, and he married a part Indian or all Indian woman. Had 3 or 4 kids. He's hard up as hell. I suppose the Indian business gave him a little bit to live on, but anyhow, he was hard up. He done little jobs here and there, whatever he could find. Had an old horse, and he done a little riding when he got a chance. Wasn't worth a damn, but he got a little jobs once in a while. And one morning Edwin was taking up to the college and caught up with him on the road and picked him up, giving him a ride. And he was telling him that, he had to go get some lard. They'd butchered a hog and they wanted to go get some lard to fry him in. He thought if the hog didn't have any lard enough to fry him, why, he was a pretty lean kind of a hog. Of course, he'd just been fed what little they might be able to find, you know. We thought that was a pretty good joke. Go to town and get some lard to fry that hog in. And as you were riding up along the road, a lot of times the upland plovers, they'd be sitting on the fence on a kind of a high post usually. They'd flutter off there. They got a funny way of kind of fluttering off. They're pretty when they fly. They'd flutter along, and they'd be sitting there kind of keeping track of their nest, probably. The other one in their nest, but they got a pretty little whistle when they fly up or make any noise. Upland plovers. And then you go, them old golden eagles, they used to be a pair of them hanging around in that country up there. They'd be sitting out on a high point somewhere and sit there by the hour. And when we was coyote hunting, while we saw them sitting somewhere while we figured there was a coyote inside of them somewhere, and usually was, if you could find him. They kind of watched those coyotes, I think, to see if they left anything to eat anywhere. I never did see one of those birds eating anything any time. They surely must have eaten something, but about the only time you saw them, maybe they'd be sailing around somewhere, but they'd be sitting on a high point of a hill somewhere. Never did see them down off the hill somewhere eating anything. I never did. I guess I wasn't maybe alert enough or something, but they spent a lot of time up there in the hills, sitting up there out in those points. Nice to see them. And two or three winters in a row, maybe 4 or 5, over in the Kearns timber claim up there in the hills, there was a bunch of magpies stayed there through the winter, every winter for a little while. I don't know what attracted them there. They were just a timber claim with some trees in it, around there, but I don't know. There were some walnut trees and maple and cottonwood, but I don't know. Never did know why they stayed there, only for shelter. But they spent several winters there. Probably 25, 30 of them. We thought they was getting with it pretty good to have magpies here. But all of a sudden they disappeared and never did come back. So I don't know what the deal was. We got a lot of young birds this year here at the house. More than usual, hatched out. The redbirds, they got their, I don't know if it's the same pair or not, but they brought in 3 different hatches to feed here. The mom is doing a lot of the feeding now. She's out there feeding a couple of them right now, but pretty soon they'll quit feeding them. They'll have to go to picking it up themselves. They sit there right there in the feeder with them and feed them, chew the hulls off the sunflower and feed them what's left. But that's the 3rd bunch they've brought in here this summer. And then there's the chickadees. They've had a hatch, and that's a little unusual. And then the titmice, they hatched out a bunch here. That's the first summer they've ever stayed here, all summer. I guess they stay around here all summer, but not here in the yard. Might be because we kept feed out all summer for them. And those little Jenny Wrens, they've hatched out a couple of bunches. You don't see them very much, the little ones. One evening they was moving out of this I guess they'd come across from the rock garden on the west side, moved across here and went over into the fence row with a swing, and golly, there was several of them went across there and muckied around there in the bushes and carried on quite a little, but the next day they was gone. Didn't see them anymore. That's the way they do. They just, you're lucky if you get to see them very much. Then they got another hatch later. I didn't see them. I know they hatched another bunch. And the damn blue jays, they'd had about 3 different bunches of young ones. Starlings haven't come in here bothering us much this summer. See them across the street there some, out on the front, but they haven't been coming in here to feed much. Of course, I don't encourage it very good, but anyway, we've had a lot of young birds this summer. Still got them. After those red birds, they get kind of grown up. There's lots of females, it seems like this year. The males, young males, you might see them a time or two and then they disappear. But them young females, they have a dark beak, is dark till they get pretty well grown up and start getting along pretty good, and then it starts turning and turns orange like the old ones. But after they get going, and the old ones quit bothering with them much, they kind of move out and disappear. I don't know where they go, but they scatter out and move away from here anyhow. So it gives room for the new ones when they get ready, I guess. It's quite a system they do. Interesting to watch them. We got a nuthatch. I don't know whether he hatches out in here or not, but we see him here quite a lot of the time. They don't eat. Well, they come get a little feed, but they don't eat regular out of a feeder like some of the birds do. We'll be getting the fall birds here before long. Every year that's different, depending on the feed. The hackberries are good. We get maybe the cedar waxwing, and the robins get thick. And if it's something else, why there's some other kind of birds that get to be the thickest. And it's interesting to see what kind of birds come. Then you can watch them the rest of the winter. We used to sleep outdoors in the summertime quite a bit. Throw a couple of blankets on a hay rack or box wagon or in a feed box or something and sleep out there at night when it was hot. Get on real good. We lived down in the Wildcat. We had that little swimming hole down there, and we'd just around dark while we'd take a run down there and take a nice little swim, get all washed off and cooled off, and go get on her bed, and golly, you could sleep good. We done that through the summertime quite a lot while we was down there. And done a lot of swimming through the days and the evenings and so on. I don't think I've said anything about wintertime skating. We used to do some skating. Ice wasn't very awful good very often. Be snow on it or weak spots in it or something. But we done quite a lot of skating down there. Old clamp on skates about every time you got going good while one of them had come off. But we had a game of shinny every once in a while. Ice hockey or whatever you want to call it. We called it shinny. It's a shinny club and some kind of a puck, and have a heck of a game. You could supposed to be able to hit a guy on the shins if he got on the wrong side of the puck. He's supposed to stay on the right side when he was going his direction, and you could work on the left side of him, which would be the right side if you went the other way. But if he got over on the wrong side, well, you're supposed to be able to hit him on the shins. And that kind of hurt if you got hit. But you get into quite a lot of scuffles that way, trying to get that puck away from somebody and keep from getting hit. And stand up and all that stuff. We used to have quite a lot of carrying on with that shinny business. Have a few days at a time while we could really go. And it was, maybe you had to go up or down a creek to get whatever, a nice little stretch of ice so you could have a good game. We had quite a lot of fun that way. It's shinny business. I remember when Ralph lived down in the pink house, we went down there to the mouth of Kitten Creek, south of the house down in there. There was a pretty good little stretch of ice down there, and I don't know, I thought we had a picnic, but we might not have. Anyhow, Dad and Uncle Ralph, and everybody was down there skating that time. That's about the only time I ever remember a Dad getting out there and playing shinny with us. But he did that day. He had a big go. Everybody was playing shinny. Then there was this was later. I don't know whether Everett and Jesse were married or not, but she was along, I remember. We went down in there below the stone house, down there on the Wildcat, Houston Place, Charlie Green Place. So we parked up on the road there, down there toward the crossing, where it crossed toward the railroad track, and walked down there, damn near half a mile down around that bend on the west side of the farmland there. And we was a skating down there, and we had quite a lot of skating, and I remember I broke through up to my armpits in the water, and about knee deep in old gooey mud. And I left one skate down there in that mud. It's still down there somewhere. But it was colder than the devil that day, and I finally got up out of there, and we came home pretty quick after that, but my clothes sure got stiff and frozen. And we walked up there and got in that damn car and come on home, but that was a kind of a cold shock there for a while. And I think that's the last time I ever went skating on the Wildcat. Anything else, much anything, not anything. But that was quite an experience. That breaking through is a dandy job. And I remember another time, this is the summertime when we lived down there in the Wildcat, we had about 100 Indian runner ducks, and they'd always go down to the creek, go up and down the creek a ways, and sometimes there'd be a little bunch of them stay over somewhere a night or two, and then we'd have to go hunt them up and get them home. They'd get too far out and just stay overnight. That wasn't a very good thing to leave them out, because something might get some of them. But anyhow, this time there was a bunch up above Russell's there, along a Ripley place, or up above a Ripley place, kind of up on Dick Ellis's place to start with. But anyhow, they sent me up there to get them ducks. And I went up there, and when I got down there by north of Russell's house, but that was quite a long stretch of riffle where it was shallow, flat rocks there. And they drove across the creek on that one place, had a road across there, and I thought I'd take them out there and drive them down the road home. Wouldn't be very far. It's quite a ways around the creek from there to clear home. But I like to warm myself out trying to get them ducks up out of that creek, and I couldn't do it. And I got kind of mad at them, so I threw clods at them most of the way home, and they come down there pretty fast, to tell you, that time. Anyhow, that was quite a little trip. And they're down around under the bridge, and band here and there, and when we got down home there, they come out all right, but darn suckers, I couldn't get them out of that water up that road for nothing up there. But we had a old African goose with about 2 females for a while, and they never did go to the creek till finally we lost the females. And this old African goose, the gander, he took over a bunch of ducks. Boy, he was king of the roost there, and he got to go into the creek with them. And they'd go up the creek a ways. Toward evening, you could hear him a-coming. He'd come on down the creek a-squawking, and they'd line up behind him, come on down. But he was a captain in charge. It's kind of funny. They never would go in the water before, but he sure took them ducks over. Had a little bunch of them. when he got walking and started home, why they'd come on with him. Kinda funny how they done that. Then we had a couple of 3 guineas down there we used to sick the dog on, and they'd fly up in the tree, and we'd throw clods at them until they flew out, and then he'd chase them until they went back up in some other tree. And we run them guineas around there a lot for fun. Dog couldn't catch him because they could fly like the devil. Throw clods at them until they flew out of the trees, and then he'd chase them until they flew back up in there. Kind of hard on the guineas, I guess, but it's a lot of fun. Anyhow, that's some of the stuff we got done while we lived down there, and had a hell of a time. One time we had to patch the alfalfa up on that high bank south of the house, across the creek. Had hog pastures up there and a bunch of old sows running up there, and there's a place where they could come down to the old swimming hole to drink. We set some panels out there in the water, and the edge of the swimming pool, or lower end of it, kind of on a riffle, but we set them out there so they get out in there and lay in the water or drink. They got to getting out, a couple of them. But Dad send me down there and get them back in there and fix the fence. And I never could find where the hell they were getting out, and he carried on around there for 2 weeks, I guess. Get them back in there and fix the fence. Don't do any good to put them back unless you fix the fence, but I never could find where they got out. Finally, one day we found out that they were going out in there, and they was submarine and diving down and going under them damn panels that were out in the water. And when we got that fixed, why they quit getting out. But I got a lot of guff about that, fixing that fence. Old submarine sows, they caused a lot of problems around there while they were doing that, but just go out there and dive down and go under that damn. He went down to milk down in the corral there by the creek south of the house, and we'd had a pretty good rain, and the creek was starting to come up just a little bit. It was just starting to run a little full, a little fresher. And we looked at it, and God, there was a carp trying to get up over the ripple there. He having a little trouble once in a while to go, and Dad, of course, sent me to catch him. I went down there and I tried to grab him, and I couldn't get a hold of him, and tried to hit him with a stick. And every time I'd hit, why, he'd just move out from under it kind of and splash water all over me, and I about to drown, and nobody else come to help. I don't know how come, but anyhow, maybe they were too smart. But they kept telling me how to do it, and nothing worked real good, so I squatted down there where he was coming, and he could go pretty good for a little spell, and he'd have trouble getting over the rocks and stuff like that. So I kind of squatted down there and kneeled down and sat on my feet, and when he come along there, he got in between my legs, kind of, and I grabbed him, and I got him pulled up against me, head down, of course, and tail up my face, but I got him so I could hang on to him, and I finally got him up on the bank, and I think he weighed about 5 pounds, which is pretty good size for a carp to splash hell out of you. I think he splashed more water on me than was in the creek, really. He sure gave me a bath, I know. That was a big deal, catching that fish by hand. About 8, 10, 11 years old. Nobody helped me. Dumb guys, I don't know how come, but nobody helped me get down there and get him. And another time down there, I was down there by myself by the old swimming pool. There was a small, kind of a sycamore tree. It was about as tall as the trees around there, but it wasn't real big yet. I climbed way up in that thing, clear up about to the top, and carved my initials up there. And I never did go back to see if they were hanging on up there. I don't even know whether the tree's there anymore or not. Probably isn't. I had quite a deal getting way up in the top of that, carving my initials. I thought I'd done something for posterity, but I don't think it probably lasted this long. We had a lot of fun down there on that old place. All kinds of fun. I don't know whether I said anything about it before, but there weren't any channel cats in the damn creek at that time. We never did catch a channel cat any size. They were bullheads, quite a lot of bullheads. Once in a while you get one of them pound or so. That's pretty good size, but bullheads and perch, sunfish, that kind of stuff. You could catch them, but carp. Then later years, they got to be bass up in there, and the damn bass ate up all them little bait fish, I think, and can't find any anymore. And then the channels got started in there sometime or other, but we never did catch any channels when we lived down there. I don't know how come. It seemed like they'd have been up in there, but they just weren't. Never saw a channel cat till we got to the river. I mean, later years they got to be channel cat in there, but it was sure shy of them for a long time. I never did know why or how come, but and the bullheads about disappeared, I think, down there now. You don't catch anything on some of them channels, maybe, or carp, but I think of those bass kind of ate up a lot of that little stuff, took over. So it's a lot different than it used to be. Used to be lots of crawdads. You could get a bucket full of them in a little while if you had a chunk of liver and tied on a string. A little stick you could dangle out in there and get a handful of them at a time and dump them in a bucket. But they're not quite that thick anymore, I don't think. Other fish eating them up. But there used to be a lot of crawdads. Uncle George and Aunt Rose come down once a year, seemed like, and we'd have a big crawdad fishing spell, and throw them in a boiler on the stove and bring it to a boil. They done a lot of kicking when they started getting hot, but throw a bunch of spices and stuff in there. Had it eaten all right. Tastes like crabs. Tastes almost like crab meat. Good. Eat that tail. That's all you ate of the damn thing. Sometimes the pincers would be big enough you could crack them open and get some out of the pincers. This big part of them, joints, but that was a big deal. Crawdads. She sure liked them, Aunt Rose did. She brought her sister down with her one time. And somehow or another she got her hand down in this water and one of them grabbed her and we had a lot of fun about it. She pulled her hand up out of there and, oh, Rose, Rose, what will I ever do? Oh, God, had her hanging on to her. But he finally turned loose, I think. She lived all right. But that was a big deal. A lot of fun. And we had a lot of good big old ripe tomatoes. Lawrence, he took a liking to them real good, and man, did he fill up on them. He really went after them all the time he's here. He just take salt shaker and tomato and have at it. He sure liked them. He should have got filled up on as many as he ate. I remember he sure liked him tomatoes. This was a good thing, I guess. He sure enjoyed it. There was a wire netting around the garden. It was a kind of a diamond mesh stuff, pointed corners in it. There was a young goose picking stuff off the fence. I don't know what he's getting. This green stuff, I guess. But anyhow, he got his head through that thing, and when he come down, he couldn't get loose. He was in that little V at the bottom. And instead of raising up an inch or so to get out, he just tried to get out pulling, and he died hanging there. I remember that. Nice young goose. And then right around the corner of the fence there was some machinery of some kind. I guess a kind of a box or something there. And little old female cow hound had 15 pups. We thought that was quite a bunch, 15. We didn't keep all of them, but there was 15 of them. Then right around the other side by the granary in the barn, they had a big old Percheron mare, gonna have a colt, and she had twins. Nice, good-looking twin colts. One of them was dead and the other died the next day. So, I don't know. They weren't right somewhere or other. Anyhow, they were a nice-looking pair. One was born dead and the other died the next day, I think. So, there south of the barn by the manure pile. If you got old Shorty out there on a good cold morning and jumped on him bareback, he'd probably throw you off there in that manure pile. Little sucker. That little old small kind of a horse, called him Shorty. Used to ride him up there other side of Russell's to get the milk cows. We pastured them up there a summer or two. Go up there and drive them home. Boy, when we went across that creek bridge, it was a plank bridge then, and steel bridge with plank floor. When we get there, we'd run him across there. Boy, he'd make a racket going across there. Clankety clank. A lot of fun. Yeah, here's a nice little yarn I just happened to think of. We killed a goddamn bullhead snake one time. It was about the right size, and so I skinned him. Just cased him. I didn't cut him down the middle. I just peeled his hide off. When got it all off of him, it was the wrong side out. So I just strung it back on my belt. God, that was a pretty belt. Had his back on the outside. God, it was a pretty belt. But within a few days, it got to smell a little bit. And another day or two, and it got to stinking like hell. And I had to abandon it, but then took me a little while to get rid of the smell off my belt. I wore it 2 or 3 times, I think. But anyway, that was a pretty belt. Idea was all right if I'd have cured the thing a little bit. Probably cut a little bit of extra meat off of it and stuff. I had hanging in there. Anyhow, the idea was good. Pretty belt. It wasn't a bullhead snake, it was a bull snake. I got a little close to that bunch of bullheads in the creek, I guess, but it was a bull snake. I want to get that straightened out. I remember about the end of the First World War, there was a couple of years in there, we saw a lot of hognose snakes. They're kind of like a bull snake, only they flatten their heads, and even back of their heads away to get flat. And you could turn them on their backs and they just lie still and they wouldn't do nothing. They just played possum real good. But they flattened their heads. They had a kind of a hard little old nose, but the rest of the head would just get flat. They were real harmless, docile sort of a snake, they claimed. But we only saw them there for a year or two. I don't know where they come from or where they went, but they were. I remember we found one and was talking about it, and the Russell girls looked it up and found it was a hognose snake, they called it. Little dib on the end of their nose, it was kind of hard. Anyhow, that's what they're supposed to call it, hognose snake. I haven't seen one since, really. 2 or 3 years up in there. Then I was talking about birds a while ago, young birds. And I didn't mention the downies. They had some young ones in here too. They're good little guys, hang around here all the time pretty near. A few years ago we had an old redhead hatched out a bunch, and he was busy as the devil here all summer, carrying feed up the alley and back and forth. We saw quite a bunch of them fooling around later on. I was real happy with them redheads hatching out here. Last year, didn't see him very much. Saw a few, but nothing real local. And this year only saw 3 or 4 redheads all summer long. So I don't know whether Starling took over his nest he had going or what. But I was real happy with them old guys. They're kind of like the bluebirds, getting scarce. This is the 17th of September, Constitution Day. 200 years ago they signed the Constitution. And I want you to ring a bell for 200 seconds. That's 3 minutes and 20 seconds. But I don't think I'll ring one that long. Somebody probably come by and turn you in and think there's something wrong with you. They don't know what's going on. Anyway, that's today. Anyhow, this morning I heard them telling about how they've taken care of it. It's up in the room part of the time, but it's really sealed in something or other, but they got a place they can put it in a steel thing that they put way down in the ground. Bomb-proof deal. They can put it way down deep in the ground somewhere or another. Keep it from all harm. And they're taking real good care of it. It's the original thing, and the original handwriting and everything that's on it. They got it in good shape yet. 200 years. And at 3 o'clock's when you're supposed to start ringing the bells. Okay, it is 3 o'clock. Well, that wasn't so great, I guess, but it was bells a ringing. I went outside and listened, and I never heard a tinkle of a bell or nothing. I thought maybe the church would ring a bell or something, but I never heard a sound. So that may be all the ringing you'll hear. Anyhow, we got it. And we're proud of it. I'm thinking of a couple of stories this morning. I don't know whether they should be put on this part of the tape or not, but I got some tape left here and I got time, so I think I'll run it on. About around 1920 or somewhere right close there, old Dick Ellis, we've been helping him some off and on, and he just got moved down here and house built and from Stockdale. Anyway, there was a rodeo over by Alma, and I think it had something to do with 101 ranch rodeo deal. I don't know for sure, but it seems like they were kind of a traveling rodeo bunch. Pretty big deal in those days. But anyhow, they had a big stadium and a cover on it, and an ice arena and bucking shoots and everything. But anyhow, he decided to take us three boys over to the rodeo. And he had a Model T pickup. And Freddie and I sat back to the cab in the back end, looking backwards. And Everett rode up in front with him. The time we got over there, I got real queasy in the stomach, riding backwards. Anyway, we got there and looked over the place, was all excited about how great it was. And it finally started. I think they had a race or two around the side of it there to start with, but anyhow, when the saddle bronc come up, why, here the guy took a saddle bronc and rode it out to about the middle of the arena, and it fell. I don't know what caused it to fall, but anyhow it fell. Might have broke her leg and fell then, but anyhow it dumped him off, and when she got up she had a broken hind leg dangling up above the ankle a ways, flopping around. That darn thing bucked her on down across the arena to the end, and they run her in a pen down there, and later shot her. That thing really was a bucking. She just didn't quit. She bucked on one hind leg all the rest of the way down across there. Then it come up after a while, it come up the bulldog it. And there was a big old fat kind of a heavy guy. He was going to do a dog and steer, and turned him out of the chute, and I don't know whether they didn't have a hazer or he didn't get out in time or what, but anyhow the old steer just cut right over, as close to the fence. He cut right over along the fence, and that guy rode right up there and dropped down on his head, and the old steer flopped out there on his side, turned end over end and flopped out there on his side, and they called it 3 seconds. We thought that'd have to be a world championship or something, but anyhow, that's what they called it, 3 seconds. It sure didn't take him long. He just dropped down on the old steer's head, and it just like it run in a hole and turned him end over end out there. But we had a big time that day, and a pretty big deal. Going over there to a rodeo. But those are two things that really impressed me. Getting sick, yet got over that after a while, but anyhow, that was a big day. Then there was another time later on when I was riding pastures for Tyne Hill. They shipped some to Kansas City out of the pasture. He decided if I wanted to go to Kansas City with him, well, we just go. So I hadn't been much out of the backyard yet, and so I went with him. We got on the train down here downtown, and rode the caboose clear down to Kansas City, and stockyards, that's when they were really operating down there. Then walked up to the stockyards there. The pens are all full of cattle, and they're moving them up down the alleys. Packing plants are right up on the side there, close to the end of it. We went up there and sat around a while, and they was doing the buying up there. Anyway, we sat around the office there a while, looked things over, and pretty big deal. Then we went and stayed in the West Side Hotel. I had a room all by myself. Little old hotel along the street there. Anyhow, next morning, why, we got up and looked around there a little bit. Went back out to the stockyard and looked around. Then there's a lot of hills down there, it seemed to me like. They had buses running, and he took me over to the Grand Central Station. Seemed to be kind of up on top of the hill. And then there was a big high monument there at the station. We went up in it, you could look all over town. And we looked around there. I guess that's where we got on the rail to come home, but anyhow, we moved around up there quite a while looking things over. This big station is a big old place. Had pay toilets in it. And we walked around the street there a little bit. And there seemed to be girls sitting out along the street in front of the buildings. I suppose they were apartment places or something, but anyhow, those women be sitting out along the street there, quite a lot of them. I couldn't figure that out very good, but I found out later what they were doing. But they didn't bother us. I looked too young, I guess, and he looked too damned old, so we didn't get bothered much. Anyhow, that was a big trip. Got home fine shape. And that's a couple of things that I just run on to this morning. They were quite impressive to my mind. I still can almost see them. Both big deals. And those kind of things you just forget about quite a lot of the time. Then something brings them on. So there's what I did on that stretch. I mentioned the buses running. Those buses were streetcars, and they'd stop right on the side of them damn hills and take off again. Looked like they'd be stuck and couldn't go up. But they had the power, I guess, on them cables or them trolleys. Cables running up the street there, they run on them things. Going and a coming. Some of them hills are pretty steep, I thought. Seemed like riding them anyhow. So that's what was going on down there. We came home on the passenger train and had to ride that caboose. So we had a nicer faster trip coming home. Got uptown kind of riding. That was a nice trip for a dumb kid. I wanted to take you back here to the flying business and to tell you the reason. They had a GI Bill that they would train those GIs from the Korean War, I guess it was. And that's why they had all that activity. Those two airports and stuff, they training them GIs. So I wanted to throw that in there somewhere. Then there was the old baseball diamond at College Hill Schoolhouse. When they moved the schoolhouse up there, they just had the line was on the west side of the schoolhouse, right close there by the sidewalk. And they went east with a little corner. That was the school ground there. And Whitney's owned that little corner west there, about 20 acres, I guess. They used it for a meadow. And he gave the boys that, or the district, I guess, that corner there to play ball on. So that's how they had that corner out there. It started right up the schoolhouse there and went west a little ways. But that's how come the school had that. He gave it to them for ball diamond. And I got a whole bunch of stuff down here thought about. Thought I might have room on this tape for a bunch of it. It don't all go together, but anyhow, the articles, items, stories and yarns. One time when Clark, Kearns and John and my dad was over there, they was fooling around one time and they saw Grandpa Johnson's, that's Mrs. Kearns' dad. He had a couple of dogs and they were down around that country mussing around hunting, and one of them was a big dog and the other was a little dog. And when they saw these boys, they kind of took out for home. And the big dog run off from the little one, and Arch had some kind of an old gun, and he thought he ought to slow that big one down so the little one could keep up. He didn't like him running off from the little one. And so he took a shot at him and hit him in the leg. Slowed him down up pretty good. And the little dog would kind of catch up with him. Anyhow, in a few days I saw Mr. Johnson, and he said he had a dog that sure had a sore leg. He must have got snake bit. And of course they let it go at that. They had a lot of fun about that dog having a snake bite. And they sure wasn't about to tell him. They had a lot of fun about that. And let's see, we go to let's go out to Ocean City Head boat fishing. We went out on the head boat one time. Brad and his dad and I went out there and stayed overnight and went out the next morning on his head boat. out in the ocean a little ways. We could still see land, but there's supposed to have been some old wrecks out there that was fishing around. They had a bunch of guys on there fishing and drinking, and they got up a pool so much apiece for the biggest fish. So we fished there quite a while, and I caught a little old sea bass of some kind, and they were catching a few fish. When we got ready to go, we was taking our lines in. There was a shark come up out there. We could see his back fin for a little bit, and then come swimming right back down along our side of the boat. See the spots on him. He looked like it about 10 feet long anyhow. That was quite a thrill to me to see a shark swimming by there. And when we got back in and they weighed the fish, the surprising thing to me was when they weighed those fish, the top money getter was 1.5 pounds. Man, that's really sea fishing. 1.5 pounds for the biggest fish. He was some kind of a ocean catfish of some kind. I thought that was quite a big fish for the ocean fishing. Anyway, there was go on back to where the Rich used to live down there on the bay. Has to be right there and there, right off of their dock along the Magothy River. I was fishing down there with a pole one day, and I caught an eel about 14, 16 inches long, I guess. He's probably longer than that. Might have been about 2 feet long. Anyhow, I had a hell of a time getting the hook out of him. I stood on him, and he just slipped right out from under my foot. The old slimy stuff on him. But I finally got him. Got the hook out. Just threw him out in the water out away from the dock there ways. After a while, there's one of the big old gulls come along there, and he leapt there by him, and he worked and worked and worked, trying to swallow him, and he'd get him about 2/3 of the way down, and he'd have to let him come on up. He couldn't get him clear down. And then he decided he'd carry him off down somewhere there on a post and kind of beat him up a little, but he picked him up and started off flying along there, and he got about 10 feet from where he picked him up to, and he dropped him. And he come back and he got him and took off again, and he dropped him. And he done that the 3rd time. When he dropped him, damned old eel was so slick he couldn't even hang on to him, I guess. It was a trouble. But anyhow, the 3rd time he dropped him, he didn't pay any attention. He just never looked back. He just flew right on down the bank. That sure tickled me. He worn himself out trying to swallow him and carry him off, and he couldn't do either one, so he just to hell with him and went on down the line. Couldn't blame him much. And there was Uh, when they was building the north line of the Bay Bridge, they just had one bridge across. They built another just north of it. They building them and making those big piers out in the middle, and there was had a big old crane helicopter with one of them high ones with the long legs on it, sit up way high above the body did, and they were carrying this concrete out there with that, pouring on. They'd fly out there and pour it up there, and they'd batching thing, and then they'd run it out in there when they wanted to. But they were pouring a lot of concrete real fast. I kind of understood them to say that they had it took about five yards at a time out there. It only take them about 2 minutes to fly out there and back. They just fly out there over that thing and dump it and come on back. But that was real interesting. And we done some fishing in the bay there, just below the bridges usually. And you could catch those striped bass, they called them, rockfish. We never got any very big ones. Probably 6-8 inches long is about the biggest ones I ever got, I remember of. But some of them get to be several pounds, and they're pretty good fish then, I guess. But anyhow, we got into a bunch of bluefish. And a school of them come along there, and we put out some chum for them, of course. And went to fishing there, and golly, you hook one over on this side of the boat, and you go on the other side of the boat before you could get your line tight. They're faster than the devil. They were just little guys too, but they sure were fast, those bluefish. And we'll go up here to back in our country, out there where the north of where you cross the spillway on 113, go north there a little ways, and then you go across another kind of a bridge deal over Cedar Creek. Right down below there on Cedar Creek, there used to be some big old sycamores in there, and those cranes, old blue herons, that had nesting in there. Tops of those have several nests up in the top of the trees, and you could see them standing up in there, and flying around, and squawking and carrying stuff in. That used to be quite a sight to see them old cranes nesting there. I don't know, I guess they trees kind of didn't look very good last I saw down there. Looked like they'd kind of petered out them old sycamore trees. I don't know whether they're still nesting there or not. They claim they got some up there north of Randolph, down in there by old Randolph, but I've never seen them yet. They do a lot of squawking and hauling around when they're nesting. They're a good bunch, putting their nest side by side, it looked like. And in their home here on the river, them golden eagles got to coming down there in the winter time, across the river mostly. They sit in the end of the timber sometimes on our side, but right across the river there was a